Welcome to the Scent of Beauty. My name is Susan, and this video is titled Friction, Responsibility/Accountability, Part 2. I wanted to start off by saying that truth cannot be disputed or deterred. However, facts can be manipulated. And at the end of Part 1, the question was asked is, am I accountable to myself? And that's an individual, it's a question to each individual. And where did I learn the difference between responsibility and accountability? What was the message that I received? We also learned that responsibility and accountability it's interchangeable in some cases. But we believe that the slightest difference can be a major difference. And so I want to reiterate the definition again. So responsibility and accountability can be shared, while accountability cannot. Being accountable not only means being responsible for something, but also ultimately being answerable for your actions. So again, the truth cannot be disputed, but facts can be manipulated. How are my actions in regards to the care I give to myself? Does it show, is it indisputable that I am responsible and that I'm accountable for myself? We talked about in Part 1 the impression that we have of the world was learned majority of the time in childhood, where responsibility and accountability were given to the child in the best interest of a caregiver. And children learned at a very young age to be stress relievers. Hence, and they were given the reward of being labeled good little boy or a good little girl. And as that message got louder, the child, the adolescent, the young adult defined responsibility/accountability based on the reactions of others as a seal of approval of good. That's why children get stickers when they go to the doctor. You are a good little boy, a good little girl for sitting and getting their immunizations. And the child with the less that reacts less gets the most validation, because let me say a child that show less emotions gets more validation as they are told, you made, and the caregiver, mommy or daddy or whoever the caregiver is, you made me proud of you, based on the reaction, based on the inaction. Stress reliever for the adult. And we talked about altruism, love, and intrinsic love. And that's basically just giving love or tenderness, affection without expecting nothing back. And so based on this type of love, with no expectation of return, what if the individuals that's responsible for giving, you know, for responsible for giving me or you or someone else altruism love decided that they want to be irresponsible and are not accountable? Where would an individual receive altruistic love? When the supply is less than what is demanded. And when I say demanded, I mean demanded as a need. You see, when we talk about friction, when I mention friction, friction is when we have the feeling of being bypassed ourselves, when we bypass ourselves, yearning for some of what we are dishing out to another person. And we are consciously aware to the unconscious disputes that we are having, but because of the conditioning that overrides our consciousness. We're talking about being responsible and accountable to ourselves. Is it really true, or is it facts that we get up, we go to work every day, and things along that line, and we say, yes, we are responsible people and we are accountable. But I'm talking about to our innateness, to our scent of beauty, to ourselves, to our being. When I talk about, that unanswerable question, that unanswerable actions, those actions that we dismiss, when our nature doesn't like the way we're nurturing our being. See, living nomadic, living life like of wandering around, nomads. They're not responsible or accountable. They're nomads. They just wander around. But we consciously extend gifts. And that's where the unsettling comes in, when we are rootless to our being. Rootless, not in the cruelty, but we don't have that connection with ourselves. We are undecided so often with what is truth. We are taught that it is in the giving we are rewarded. But the feeling and ideas are usually in a conflicted state. And the reason why is because, again, the feeling and idea are going in contradictory direction, because internally we know that there is a discrepancy. And that's why I always go back again, that to know our being is to love our being, because our receptors and our mechanism, our cells, our transmitters, they're all member of our support team, and they will always be responsible and always be accountable to our mechanism, even if we don't utilize it. And that's where the friction comes in. And again, the discrepancies, because we could feel when we are not being accountable and responsible for ourselves, and when we're not receiving accountable and responsible love from others. The inquiry, what about me? When we cross-examine consciously, there is a cross-examination, and people call it depression, and there's so many labels that's put on that, but really it's a cross-examining. We are cross-examining ourselves. So again, when the question is asked, what about me? A response is required. When it goes unanswered, we become a liability to ourselves. And that's where the friction starts, because of the investigation that we are having when we can't find altruistic love coming our way from ourselves. Reciprocity wasn't taught. Solaceum for love, it's almost like an how dare you ask for the one that is loving you to be responsible and accountable. But why would we not ask for compensation? Or why is an individual considered conceited if they want to give that to themselves? These ideas and these messages are some of the reason why friction has become a part of, I'll say it's some of the difficult psychological hindrance to our scent of beauty, our individual scent of beauty. I'm not saying at different times that altruism love is not when you're externally expressing it. There are times that, yes, you give without that expectation, but it can't be a constant omitting self to serve someone else. Because if we take a look at it, if altruism is given in the spirit of charity, doesn't love begins at home? Doesn't it begin at home? And when I say home, I'm talking about our being. Who is accountable for our consolation? And what if it doesn't travel simultaneously? What if we keep on getting interrupted by friction? A person who doesn't have that much to give. A person that makes the choice they don't want to give. If altruism is an effective way to benefit another being, why can't we utilize it and make that concept and utilize that concept in our internal world?